Well, on to our focus for the morning. So a large number of South Africans speak indigenous languages. Some still not quite fluent in English, especially when it comes to understanding and disseminating news that pertain to finances, politics, and even socioeconomic issues. So in light of this, the SABC is opening a 24-hour dedicated news channel to service only languages spoken in South Africa. So today we'll be unpacking the importance of making sure that the public is informed in languages that they understand, but we also will be explaining where you can find the new channel and what it will mean for the national broadcaster. Joining us in studio for that discussion, we are joined by Mr. Moshoeshoe Monare, who is the Group Executive of News and Current Affairs. Alongside him as well as Mr. Khutso Matlala, who is the Head of News Resources at SABC. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Media and Society.
Good morning, thanks very much.
I want to start with you, Mr. Monare, and talk a little bit about what it was that you saw stepping into the SABC. You've been in the position as GE since last year. And as soon as you took over, I think you were really tasked with taking the news platforms forward. And this step, a very important step in really being able to do that. What was it that you noted that said, that's the direction we need to be going?
Look, for a long time, SABC has been catering its news bulletins and current affairs in African languages. However, it has been on fragmented platforms, 20 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And we're talking about millions of South Africans who actually speak more, whose languages are more, can I say, appealing more than English, and they understand each other. And these are the people who have to wait for the evening in order to get news in their own languages. And some of them actually had to wait for 2 days, like isiSwati, isiNdebele. And to me is that, but if you've got more than 10 million people who speak these languages and who are not catered for, and the statistics of South Africa will tell you that English actually is a first language spoken home language. It's actually a minority language. And it was like, but these people have to be catered for, have to be given priority. And to me, that was the reason why we were saying that it cannot be in 2023. You get someone from a village in KwaZulu-Natal or Limpopo, Northwest, who had to wait for 7 o'clock to know what is happening in South Africa. And especially the issue of universal access. I mean, we are having, 324, if I have to include BDTV, 4 24-hour news channels, and none of them are catering people in their own languages, and languages that are popularly spoken in South Africa. So that was the rationale behind establishing this channel.
Can we talk a little bit about the implications of not being able to target or speak specifically to that market where, I mean, you look at the history of this country and you talk about those evening bulletins. They are institutions very much in our society. And yet, as you say, well, we've got these 24-hour news channels. They're not catering to that very large South African group of viewers. What are the implications of that, where you've got a nation that is missing information that is critical to them?
Look, you've got a nation that is missing that, but also constitutionally instituted institutions like SABC that's got a clear mandate that says, in terms of your dissemination of information and news, you need to make sure that there's that plurality and diversity. And to me, it's one of those situations that if we don't do it, actually we are denying millions of South Africans and households. And given our history, it's a known fact that the generation of my parents, some of them actually could hardly understand English. Not that they are not educated or they are not sophisticated. It's a language that doesn't feature in their lives. And still, they want to be informed. Still, they want to be able to hold the powerful accountable. And if we don't speak in their language, then we are not really carrying out a mandate to make sure that they are well informed.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what it is that we're actually offering them. And I'm going to let you go first here, Mr. Monare. Ekaya, it's an interesting name as well. And what is it exactly that we're bringing the viewer?
Look, what we are bringing is news bulletins, current affairs, in all South African languages, obviously excluding English, including Afrikaans in that, all African languages. And also we are giving you parliamentary proceedings, because this channel is also was meant to for the SABC to offer its viewers, its audience, what is happening in our parliament, not from the point of view of politicians, but from the point of view of ordinary South Africans to understand the legislative processes, to understand policy making, to understand that actually they are the ones who need to participate and make those informed decisions through their representatives. It's not someone who's sitting somewhere in parliament, but ordinary South Africans need to participate in that process as part of participatory democracy. That's what we are offering you. But the channel is on DTT, which is more a digital terrestrial channel, which is going to give you a better quality view as opposed to analog channels.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about DTT then. And Mr. Matlala, this is where I bring you in. I think that because in this country we've talked about DTT for so long, I mean, it's been well over a decade that we've been hearing digital terrestrial television. But I think we take for granted that maybe the average South African doesn't actually understand what we're talking about. So can we start with those basics? When we say digital terrestrial television, Mehu is watching at home, what do they take from that term?
Oh yes, no, true. And I get a lot of those questions every day. Firstly, on what does DTT mean? As Moshoeshoe said, digital terrestrial television. It is the one that is replacing the analog television. So back in the days, even today, you plug in your aerial, you tune in your TV, you get the noisy, snowy picture. That is analog TV. That is being replaced because it takes up a whole lot of bandwidth that could be used by other service providers like your MTNs, your Telcoms, your Vodacoms. So we are now moving digital in order to use less of the spectrum that we always hear about. And then the digital terrestrial television allows us to use less. But then what does that mean for the viewer at home? It means a clearer picture. It's either you have a picture or you don't. There is no in between. There is no noisy picture. There is nothing. And when we talk about high definition, HD, SD, that's where you're going to get that high definition of our offerings on DTT.
At the same time, though, where you've got that move to digital terrestrial television, it gives broadcasters more of an opportunity to create more platforms like Egaya, correct?
Correct. And because it uses less spectrum or less bandwidth, it means you can have a whole lot more channels. Like, for example, one analog channel can probably, in the space of one analog channel, you can fit about 6 to 8 digital channels. So it just means a lot more. And it doesn't really mean you need to change a lot. We can talk about what you need to receive DTT, but not much needs to change for some people, but for some people, yes, a bit needs to
and I
change.
think the issue that you're raising about what you need to access DTT has certainly been a contentious one over the past year, especially, you know. Once you start asking the question, how ready are we really for DTT transformation? How do you answer that question? And for the average person watching at home, what do I need to do?
All right. So readiness for broadcasters, for Centec, 100% ready. We have been doing this for many, many years. But for consumers, viewers at home, the lucky viewers would be the ones that have the smart TVs. I usually just generalize and say the smart TV, but by then I mean a TV that you bought probably in the last 5 years.
Yes.
There, if you are in an area that has good TV signal, you can just plug in your old bunny ears aerial at the back of your TV and tune your digital television channels. DTT is there. You will get it. So anybody with a newish TV, try that. But if you are living in an area that has a weaker signal, you might need the old traditional aerial that was on the roof to receive the DTT channels. And then for those with older TVs, they are the ones that will need a set-top box. So for qualifying people, they can apply for that at the post office currently, and they will receive their DTT box. It's a set-top box. They'll plug the aerial in there and plug into the TV the same way they used to plug in other things onto their TV, and they will be able to receive the DTT signal. But then there's also DTH, which carries the same DTT channels over satellite. Because Centec cannot cover the entire country with terrestrial antennas, what they can't cover with that, they cover with satellite. So anybody in South Africa can receive the DTT channels on what we call DTH, direct-to-home satellite offerings. So there, same thing. You plug in your set-top box and you tune in, and then you'll have your channels, and you can plug in onto any TV, smart, old, whatever TV
Yeah,
that you have.
and you're talking about all these different ways that you can access the channel, or DTT particularly, and I'm quite keen to hear just how much work the SABC as a whole, and I know you represent news, but can speak about it as well. How much work the SABC is actually doing to make more of our content easily accessible. I mean, I know that now, if you are a South African, you're able to watch the news even as on your phone while you're on the go.
Yeah, look, it's one of those things that as media organization, we need to also accept that your content can land anywhere, on any platform. Even with the new channel, we are also expecting it to be on SABC Plus, which is our OTT. It's one of those things that says we need to accept that linear radio and linear TV are not the only platforms that and also remember, the consumers are on the move. No one is waiting for 7 o'clock for prime news anymore. Even the word prime news is so passé. So you need to to make sure that all your platforms, all your content can be available in every platform, especially for a fast-paced South Africa consumer market.
Yeah, I want to talk about the faces that we're going to be seeing. I think that's quite exciting when we talk about Ekaya, the faces we're going to be seeing. I remember when Matlala left the SABC, it was a national moment. It really, really, truly was. And I think when you look at some of our indigenous language bulletins, unlike the 24-hour news channels, the faces that are there somehow become very much a part of the hearts and homes of South Africans.
Yeah. Look, Nadi, I cannot obviously disclose much of the details until the launch, which is going to be around April. We're still finalizing finer details of the channel, so I cannot reveal in terms of on-air talent, in terms of the details of scheduling. Yeah.
Oh man, I tried to dig for you guys. I tried to dig, but as we then start gearing towards the launching of Ekaya in April, this is what we'd like to hear from you. What is it that you want to see more of in terms of the SABC working towards providing you news in your own language?